Hello everybody, welcome. My name is Abid. Today we will discuss on the topic of towards civil disobedience. So guys, today's discussion is on the topic of towards civil disobedience. So before this, we have found that what kind of the problem the people of the nation, or you can say Indian, are faced at that time. So you know that in February 1922, Mahatma Gandhi decided to withdraw the non-cooperation movement. So guys, about the topic of the discussion, the previous last video I have properly discussed about the topic of the non-cooperation movement. The exact meaning of the non-cooperation movement is that we should refuse to cooperate with the British government, or we can say the resign of all the jobs, and we can say that the lawyers are etc. What kind of the job you have done, you had belong at that time, you have resigned, you have no not cooperation with the British government at that time. So due to this cause, here we are discussing about the topic of the towards civil disobedience. Simply you can say civil disobedience movement. The previous last video I have discussed illustratively about this topic, and where I have provided you a PDF form, all the material about this topic. That's why, because through which you will be get great exposure about the exam point of view. So guys, we are discussing about the topic of towards civil disobedience. What was the condition before we found that that in February 1922 Mahatma Gandhi decided to withdraw the non-cooperation movement. So you guys found here that non-cooperation movement. So the previous last video I have discussed illustratively with you, but what was the main cause at that time, the withdrawn of the non-cooperation movement, or you can say to pull back of the non-cooperation movement at that time. So during the period of the 1922, we found that Chora incident. So guys, in after a few days, or you can say in further discussion, I will be provide you the material of the Chori incident. It was also held, or you can say exist during the period of the 1922. So what was the Chori incident 1922? So during that period, we found also a non-cooperation movement which has started under the leadership of the Mahatma Gandhi, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, and at that time, why Gandhiji had withdrawn this movement. So what was the reason behind it is that this movement has been drawn, or you can say non-corruption movement has been withdrawn by the leader of Mahatma Gandhiji during the period of 1922. So guys, here I want to notice you that you should be known that at that time the Chori incident had been held at that time. So the Congress session at Allahabad in December 1922 decided to launch a civil disobedience movement. Gandhiji was appointed its leader. So you know that during the period of the December 1921, at that time the Congress session was at Allahabad, and Gandhiji and at that time the leaders of the you can say the leaders of the Congress, they have launched that we would start it here the movement of civil disobedience, but due to the cause of the Chori incident, this movement had been not started. So guys, but before it could be launched, a mob of people at Chori near Gorakhpur clashed with police and burned 22 policemen on February 5, 1922. So during the period of the, you can say, during the movement of the non-cooperation movement, at that time the Chori incident had been held, and during this period the clash between the police and the mob of people had been held in Gorakhpur, and due to this cause 22 policemen had burned it, and you can say that the a clash had been exist. So guys, here we found that this compelled Gandhiji to withdraw the non-cooperation movement on February 22, February 12, 1922. So this was the main reason behind it, is that why Gandhiji had withdrawn the movement of the non-cooperation, or civil, simply you can say why Gandhiji had withdrawn the movement of non-cooperation at that time during the period of the non-cooperation movement. And it is simply, or you can say that it is only because of the Chora Chori incident, when the mob of people at Chora Chori near Gorakhpur clashed with police and burned 22 policemen on February 5, 1922. This compelled Gandhiji to withdraw, and due to this cause, Gandhiji withdrawn the non-cooperation movement on Feb 12, 1922. So guys, we are discussing about the topic of the civil disobedience movement. So in February 22, Mahatma Gandhi decided to withdraw the non-cooperation movement. He felt the movement was turning violent in many places, and satyagrahas needs to be proper trained before they would be ready for mass struggle. So guys, here we found that Gandhiji, during the period in February 1922, Gandhiji had decided to withdraw the non-cooperation movement only because of this movement had been turned into the violent form, and due to this cause, this satyagraha needed to proper tend before they would be ready for mass struggle. So within the Congress, some leaders were by now tired of mass struggles and wanted to participate in election to the Provincial Council that had set up by the Government of India Act of 1999. So guys, some people of the Congress, or you can say some leader of the Congress, they have tied, or you can say that they don't want to this form of the movement, or you can say they did not want to participate like such movement during that period, and they believed that through the Government Act of 1999, through which we will be established our provincial council, or you can say constitutional provincial, and due to this we will participate in election, and through which we will continue our struggle for the freedom. So they felt that it was important to oppose British policies within the council, argued for reform, and also demonstrated that these councils were not truly democratic. C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru formed the Swaraj Party within the Congress to argue for a return to council politics. So guys, that there had been exist a clash between among the leaders of the Congress at that time. Some people, or you can say some leaders, they want to participate in election, and due to this, they when they will won in election, or you can say they will won in election, and from where, or you can say the councils will start their movement, or you can say for their movement for the freedom. So guys, but younger leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose pressed for more radical mass agitation and for fulfill independence. Some people, they want to they have, like the C.R. Das and Motilal, formed the Swaraj Party. So among the Congress Party, there had been exist a clash between the C.R. Das, Motilal Nehru. That's why, because they have formed their own party, Swaraj Party, and you can say that complete Swaraj Party, they will struggle and they will participate in election when they will won, and they will struggle their movement for the freedom. But another side, another leaders, young leaders like the Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose pressed for more radical mass agitation and for full independence. So radical, favoring fundamental change, or change at the root cause of a matter. So like the Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose, they want to change, or you can say they want to change fundamental change, or change at the root cause of the matter. So in such a situation of internal debate and discussion, two factors again shaped Indian political towards the late 1920. So late after the 1920, that there has been clash, or you can say the debate discussion internal among the party of the Congress. The first was the effect of the worldwide economic depression. So first was, one was asked about the worldwide economic depression. Agriculture prices began to fall from 1926 and collapsed after 1930 as the demand for agriculture goods fell and exports declined. Peasants found it difficult to sell their harvest and pay their revenue. By 1913, the countryside as a terminal. So by 1930, the countryside was in turmoil, a state. Simply, you should be understand that what does the exact meaning of the turmoil, a state of a great disorder, or you can say uncertainty. So, guys, against this background, the new Tory government in British. Simply, Tory means a member or supporters of the Conservative Party in Britain constitute a statutory commission under Sir John Simmon, set up in response to the nationalist movement. The commission was to look into the function of the constitutional system in the Indian and suggest change. The problem was that the commission did not have a single Indian member; they were all British. So, guys, for the sorry for such purpose, the British government have established a constituted, or you can say statutory commission under the Sir John Simmon, and in which commission you did not find any member of the Indian, and they all were belong to the British government. And when the Simmon Commission arrived in India in 1922, it was greeted with the slogan "Go back, Simmon." All parties, including the Congress and the Muslim League, participated in the demonstration. So, guys, here we are discussing about the topic of towards civil disobedience. So it's essential, and we have need to now the historical background of the civil disobedience, and how many causes and and reason due to this the civil disobedience movement had been started at that time. So before we look that how many issues had been exist in the overall scenario, political scenario of our nation, or you can say India. And at that time, for such purpose, the clash, and you found also the clash between the Congress party and some people belong to the Swaraj party, and other, they were the radical. They have started their very radical mass agitation and for full independence. And you found that for such purpose, or you can say for reviewing this condition, the British government had sent at that time Simmon Commission only because that the Simmon Commission had said in India only because of the to review the condition, or you can say to review the condition of the political condition, or you can say to review the condition of the Act of the 1999, Government India Act of India 99, to review the Government Act of the 99. So when the Simmon Commission arrived in India, so guys, here we found that when the Simmon Commission had arrived in India 1928, it was greeted with the slogan "Go back, Simmon." All parties, including the Congress. And I think so when the Simmon Commission had arrived at India during the period of the 1920, and all the people of the nation, they had greets them, and they have slogan "Go back, Simmon." And all the parties like Congress and other parties, they have participated, and other Muslim leagues party, and all you can say that including overall the parties of the nation like Muslim League, like Congress, and other party participated in the demonstration. And in an effort to win them over, the Viceroy Lord Irwin announced in October 1929 a vague offer of dominant status for India is in an unspecified future, and a roundtable conference to discuss a future constitution. So you found that Lord Irwin, who had announced that the system of the domain status. It means that at that time we did not give a domain status for Indians. That's why, because they had unspecified future, and or you can say right now the condition of the India is not that it will after the domination it will take or establish their own nation. So for such purpose they have done round table, they had held a round table conference discussion for the future constitution of the India. This did not satisfy the Congress leaders, the radicals within the Congress, led by Jawaharlal Nehru, led by Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose, become more assertive, bloody self-assured that liberals and the moderates who were proposing a constitutional system within the framework of the British dominance gradually lost their influence. So finally you found that there were some leaders, and that they have become more bloody self-assured. That's why, because and during this period the liberals and the moderates who were proposing a constitutional system within the framework of the British dominion but gradually lost their influence. In December 1929, under the presidency of Jawaharlal Nehru, the Lahore Congress formalized the demand of Purna Swaraj. So guys, the previous last video I have discussed illustratively about the topic of the Purna Swaraj, which means complete independence, or you can say full independence for India. So right now we are discussing about the topic of civil disobedience, and right now how many issues had been exist at that time. So during the period of in December 1929, the presidency of Jawaharlal Nehru, the Lahore Congress formalized the demand of Purna Swaraj, full independence. It was declared that 26 January 1930 would be celebrated as the Independence Day, when people were to take a pledge to struggle for complete independence. So guys, here we are discussing about the topic of the civil disobedience, or we can say why this movement had been held and what was the reason behind it, is that this movement had been held. So here we found that there were so many issues, or you can say that you found here that Act of the 1919 and the clash between the Congress among the Congress leader, and also you found the Simmon Commission, and finally you found the influence of the Jawaharlal Nehru and the Subhash Chandra Bose, and how Jawaharlal Nehru had formalized the demand of Purna Swaraj during the period of the 26 January 1930, and at that time it had been celebrated throughout the nation, Independence Day. And how many you feel that all the people at that time are participating, or you can say joined this movement and struggle for the complete independence, but the celebration attracted very little attention. So Mahatma Gandhi had to find a way to relate this abstraction idea of freedom to more concrete issue of the everyday life. So you feel that something that in itself the concentration qualities of a longer item or the multiple item. So here we found that Gandhi ji, who had find that this time is very essential for the movement of the civil disobedience. That's why because all the people have prepare ideologically, and they had now that what's our duties, what's our duties towards our nation is, and they all the people, or you can say all the parties and all the people that they have participated this movement, and due to this cause the whole of the rule of the British government had been shaken by this movement, and you feel that this was the way towards the freedom of our nation. So guys, we have discussed about the topic of towards civil disobedience, but right now after how much discussion we have done this topic, but it was only background of the, or you can say reason behind it, is that due to this cause civil disobedience had been held, and how many causes and reasons were behind it is that civil disobedience has been held. And we found that after this discussion we will continue our discussion about the topic of the civil disobedience. But the last video I have discussed illustratively about the topic of the civil disobedience. At that time, during the period of the 1929, under the leadership of the, you can say, Jawaharlal Nehru, at that time they at that time we found the Congress section, and the resolution has been passed, Purna Swaraj. So guys, I hope that you understand the historical background of the civil disobedience, and also I have provided you in PDF form all the discussion about the topic of the civil disobedience, and where you will find overall discussion or overall material which is related to your topic, that's name is civil disobedience. So guys, I hope that you have understand this topic properly, and you know that what were the main reason and causes of the civil disobedience. So in the end, I heartily request you, please share and subscribe this channel, and that's why, because in future I will make like such videos and lectures for you, through you will get your exposure. Thank you very much.